Gonna have a hell of a day ahead of you, but this is a great way to start it. This game we have PeerLess versus SGTG. We've got PeerLess here picking and banning. We've got the initial ban, shockingly, Superman. SG going to ban out that teamy. So all the respect being given over to the stalwart twins here as SG go for their first pick. What do you think we're going to see picked up in these first initial picks?
After everything that we've seen, I'm definitely going to confirm that somebody's going to be getting Malik out in the days. And it looks like they changed it to the Kilgrot. So Kilgrot's going to be taking the bench this time. And of course, there it is, the Zenio coming out. It's very standard about what we're going to see here. So that means Teamy is going to be on play. Depends on who's going to get it, though. I'm going to think SG's got this.
It's whether they feel confident in playing Teamy. You got to remember, Teamy's relatively new to the Valiant region, so with them being relatively new, there might not be anyone actually capable or confident enough to play him well. And sometimes that can be a hindrance. You know, there's a lot of situations where teams pick up a hero because they're available, because they weren't banned out, but it doesn't mean they can play them well, and sometimes that can actually work against them. So we'll see whether we have, whether SG or whether PeerLess have someone that feels confident in these early stages to play that teamy. Meanwhile, we do see that Cricknack, and there's the Alice. Now, Alice had a huge effect on week one, was in fact the top pick and the top win rate for week one. And we've seen Alice actually coming into the meta both for NA and EU in recent memory as well, haven't we, JB?
Yeah, I to be fair, I underestimated her for quite a while. But when you look at the potential and what she brings to the table, especially Hissy Fit, the plays you can make off of that is just outstanding. And of course, there's the Zephyrs here. You can see the Malik coming out. The Zenio got split up from the Malik partnership, though. So they're going to be dancing against each other and not with each other on this one. Yeah, yeah. Everyone always underestimates the tiny girl in the pink dress, but in the late game, those skills come off of cooldown in seconds. You'll have stuns and slows galore, and in these big AOE situations, it can really be a big tide changer for these team fights. I'm happy that we didn't see the Crash picked up there. Picking up Crash into both a Malok and Thane, who do damage through shields, is a pretty nasty way to go. The amount of times as Crashed, I've popped my ultimate while on low health, thinking I've suddenly generated a lot of health, only to be caught by a Whirling Blade from Malok and seen my health disappear. So the Arduin is going to be picked up in their place. Meanwhile, we see the SG team rounded out with the Zephys, Tulan, and the Malok, like I said. These are both. It's good to see a few picks here that we haven't seen played already today. Yeah, it's great to bring back on the change here. I'm really curious to see how Arduin is played. Now, I haven't seen Arduin on our server for quite some time. Season 1 was like the most
I love Arduin.
But his kid is still very good. Like when I played him, amazing things can happen with it. And Preda is pretty big with us. So the fact that they're pulling out at this time and he's going to be versing Tulin is going to be a little bit of a challenge. But if he plays it correctly, I think he can actually get a handle on this. I completely agree. I know some very good Praetor players, and at the higher elos, Praetor is a disaster to play against. His clear is substantial. Trying to siege against a Praetor is, completely impossible almost. So in the late game, when he's able to clear a wave entirely with one Spectre, that can be a real problem. Like I said, the Arduin, I love Arduin. I'm a big fan of him. I play him support because that's just me. But he can really mislead you. He's got a lot more mobility than you give him credit, and the AoE knock-up that he can generate from his one can really be key in these team fights. If you combine that with a well-placed Hissy Fit, that is some serious AoE lockdown that we're going to probably see happen here as we go into our initial pause of the game, just to make sure everybody gets themselves online and everything is set to go so that there's no shenanigans and everyone starts off on an even playing field. How are we feeling about these two teams? Are we, initially looking at these two compositions, where are you leaning, JB? Who do you feel is? I'm gonna put you on the spot. Who do you think is gonna win this, based purely on their compositions, PeerLess or SG? Well, I can easily shut you down with that one, because out of all the games that happened tonight, I believe that especially in the beginning of this game, both teams have equal pressure on each other. They could both invade. They have the comps to kite each other if they want to, and depending how it goes, it's the first come, first serve in this situation. So it's up in the air. And actually, we're about to see that right now as SG is going to take initiative.
Yeah, well played there by JB with the tactical fire there. Instead of throwing a hissy fit, did manage to get himself out of dodge and not pick a side. Well played. We do see real good aggression coming out from PeerLess onto the SG side as Irie is forced back behind her back tower, in fact, as the jungle is stolen away bit by bit by the PeerLess side. They are going to be taking some damage across that wall as we see the Arduin knock up as well. So starting in this lane with 2/3 of their health versus an Arduin, not the greatest position as you see Arduin with the knock up as well. Arduin, for those that don't know him that well, his skills, his one is going to initially slow you, and if he does connect with a hero, you'll get a second option to then potentially knock them up. However, he has been caught out here as Mata does make their way into it. Tulan doing significant damage. First blood going to be picked up with the execute by Irie. That was great work there, great teamwork, and really good presence of mind to make their way towards top. Arduin was playing very aggressive because Irie was so low on health, and it allowed Tulan to get that early pressure in and pick up that first blood kill. So insanely good map awareness there coming out from the SG side.
Yeah, on that one, I think Arduin there wasn't paying a little bit of attention. I think he might have possibly thought that was his teammate, so he actually committed to it. And before he knew it, there was a Tulan right next to him that actually wasn't supposed to be there. But overall, it's nothing that Arduin can come. I mean, like you were saying, his kit, I mean, just because he dies at the beginning of the game, that's not the end of it. He'll actually come back even stronger later. So that's one out of there. But there is a team fight happening middle, or attempting to. And it looks like First Dragon is in sights, though.
Yes, they the chase down on Malok, chase down by Malok was real as they start pressuring Abyssal Dragon. Good defensive play here coming out from SG to keep everyone away and make sure that Abyssal goes over to the right people. Meanwhile, in the top lane, we do see Arduin taking a little bit of damage, uses his to generate a shield. If he does drop below 50%, he will go into Bloodlust, which means his auto attacks will start dealing giving him lifesteal, but that won't do him that good in his against big bursty compositions, which PeerLess will which SG will hopefully be utilizing. Really good pressure coming out from the SG team though in these early stages.
Yeah, and as we saw there as they went Good Dragon, and another thing to bring up though is Irie. You know, this is the talk right now on NA. It's been happening. You know, a lot of people have been questioning, you know, she's pretty weak as a champion. And the correct answer to that is she actually isn't. However, she is mechanically challenging. And you do have to remember, she has all those dashes to her disposal. And the one thing you have to look at is your items. If your items aren't matching up and your Arcana aren't matching up, you're not putting out the damage. And like right happening up top here, in this case, you can get caught out and it's going to do it. But Irie is in by no means weak.
Oh, Irie did get a little bit greedy there, but isn't going to be punished, or is she, as the Spectres start flying here. Praetor doing some good work, though, but Thane playing meat shield here, does manage to force the team back. Ultimate will be used. Does allow Zephyrus to pick up a kill there for SG. Plata and Sicario are going to have to back off as much as possible because the entirety of the SG team are circling them. They are going to pick up the Seagull as well and start turning their attention towards mid. Hopefully going to try and cut them off, PeerLess off in the jungle. That does look like they are going to be able to get away without having to worry too much. 27 seconds until Abyssal comes up. This is just going to allow SG to clear those waves, make sure that they're pushing in the right direction towards the towers so that should they win a team fight, they can easily transition to further objectives. Meanwhile, there's a great big ultimate coming down onto many members of the PeerLess side. SG following up great here. Tulan is going to manage to boot significant damage. Ultimate comes down from Thane, and that's going to be secured by the Zephyrus as they back right off just in time for Abyssal Dragon to spawn. And this is what we talked about earlier today. Kills, they don't really give you too much gold in these early stages, but what does is objectives. Good trade going there in favor of Irie. Meanwhile, the Abyssal Dragon didn't actually happen. It didn't allow them to, I think they're all actually a little bit low and didn't want to risk it with the Kriknak being alive and well. So yeah, that didn't actually happen, but they might be thinking about it now as we see Zephyrus and Malok start turning their attention towards Abyssal as they get vision over several members of the enemy side. Irie is going to be throwing out that stun as best she can. But going a bit too deep, she just spots out there's 4 people, and there's that mobility you talked about earlier, JB, just gets to safety while her teammates pick up that Abyssal Dragon.
And that is exactly right. You can go now. Irie, I understand what she was trying to do there. She was going to hope to get the blue. What she should have done was actually saved her 1-2 actually and tried to shoot it out. But it was completely fine because she was able to go in, check it out. 4 people there. That then allowed SG and pretty much saying Dragon's wide open for you guys. And that's what's good about Irie too. She's a great scout.
Yeah, exactly. You get vision over 4 members of the enemy side. You know that you're in a comfortable position to take that objective. Speaking of taking that objective, we did see Mata throw out the Firebird there, but it wasn't going to be the case. No kill secured there. It was blocked, in fact, by PeerLess teammates. Spirit Sentinel will be picked up for the trouble, though, as they start rotating towards that mid lane. Quicknack is going to be the likely target, but he's a fairly mobile bug as he flies away. That does mean, look at this roam coming out from SG, this 4-man death squad just roaming through the jungle. Zephyr committing blind, just dives over the wall trying to grab that red buff and does in fact manage to secure it. Meanwhile, Sicario chasing them down, doesn't really know what he's going into as the rest of the SG team collapse on him. He is going to get himself out of dodge, does force the flicker by the Praetor over the wall to get back under tower. Champ is the only person on his own, but he's fairly tanky. He's not got to that uber tank place that we know that Thames can get to just yet, but he is in a secure place to manage to cover his rest of his teammates as Irie pressures that top lane as well, and Pretty will force them back, managing to keep that alive for now at least.
You know, the thing that I'm actually seeing coming out from SG right now is they're really good at baiting out PeerLess's ultimates. They're just going in there, they're splashing it. As you see, they're about to do it again.
Yeah, we can see that already happened there, and Alice is going to be in a bad position and does go down for her trouble. How dare you pick on a small, tiny girl? She's a very deadly girl, and they needed to kill her quickly because she can turn those team fights in a matter of seconds. This allows SG to pressure in here. You can imagine a hissy fit in this situation would be disastrous for them to pressure and siege this tower. Sicario is going to be the subject of the Angelic Splendor, and it does heal him back up as the rest of his team chase towards top side. Chase towards bot side, and to defend against the Malok pressure.
So Angelic Splendor, though, if we're actually taking a look at it, it's from what I've seen so far, it's being used a lot for one single teammate, and it's not actually used in the team fights. That could possibly hurt PeerLess in the long run if they keep running it like that.
For sure. I mean, that big AoE heal, we've seen the effect it has there. Thane ultimate comes out, not going to connect with anyone at this point. And the team's starting to kind of bide their time a little bit. This Abyssal Dragon is up. They are going to start that dance around this objectives. Malok will be... does get stunned, but there isn't any follow-up right now. Champ's gone in, though. They don't really want to be wasting their cooldowns on Champ. We do see his effect used to try and break up the team fight a little bit. There's the ultimate from Malok coming down. Does divide the team well as PeerLess are forced on the back line, and that is going to be a pickup onto Sicario. Zephyrus manages to secure that kill as Sicario does go down, and that's exactly what you want to see, is the enemy jungler dying when you've got a objective up that you want to take. Irie, meanwhile, does take an objective in the top side as the red tower does go down, and this could be a second tower in this minute going down for SG if they take it, but they're going to turn their attention to Abyssal instead.
You know, another thing we're actually seeing here, which is really amazing, is Malik is taking the initiative in this game. He is actually starting most of the fights. He's in the front. He's even using his ultimate in a way that some people would actually forget to use it about, which instead of jumping on them, jump over them. Because of that slow, they won't be able to run through that circle for a while. That allows your team to collapse on them, and they will not be able to get away. And it's just a surefire way of securing your kills, which they're doing. Not only that, but as they were getting Dragon, he is watching them at the turret. He himself is holding about 4 people before they all left and decided to give them that Dragon. So the pressure that SG is putting on right now is immense.
I completely agree. SG looking firmly in control of the situation right now as they make their way through the jungle, slowly but surely pressuring forwards, taking objective after objective. They do now have a 9-0 kill lead. But on top of that, they have those 3 towers and 3 Abyssal Dragons. So it's looking very much in favor of SG at this point in time. And here we see another great Malok ultimate used well. But this time, Sicario is going to be picking up a kill, and that's going to be Skyrie going down as well. So that ultimate, whilst used well, was into a few more team members of the PeerLess side than they expected. So SG punished a little bit there for the lack of awareness on that one, but it's not going to hinder them too much, those 2 kills going over. But it does mean that PeerLess is now on the board as far as kills are concerned. Yeah,
on that one, it was a little bit of a mistake there. Malik could have left him, but, you know, they got to have that team love, so you try to get him there. And there was a possibility to get him out, but Zenio actually ulted correctly there as well. So he used his Angelic Splendor to heal his team up, and that's actually what caused him issues. Malik was able to get them down on time. He was trying to go for the Alice. It just wasn't working out. But the biggest thing is they've been leaving Irie alone. For the longest time, she's been pushing that top lane, and not much contest to it.
Yeah, and leaving her alone, she doesn't quite have the pressure and the push of, say, a Kilgroth or an Omen, but she can push a tower significantly. And we did see as well several Leviathans coming out on the PeerLess side, so they are a relatively tanky team, or at least they're going to be looking to get tanky between Pretty and Plutter. Speaking of engages, that is another great Angelic Splendor coming in, but that might be a really good dash away from Irie. Irie here, I think, a little bit underestimated as far as the PeerLess side is concerned. I think that, like you said, they've been leaving her to her own means, and she's starting to punish them for that.
And that's exactly what you needed to do. You know, when you're playing Irie, I was talking about how, you know, she's mechanically difficult. You're either scouting, you're pushing. If you do go in the team fight, you can go in the middle and then ult everybody. It's a nice little stun to run in there. And there's actually going to be a team fight breaking out right now.
Yeah, Shock comes down, and that is going to be doing a significant amount of damage. But PeerLess are getting very low. Down, Sicario is going to go down, falling to the Tulan. But Cosmo is very low now. That's a great Spectre through the entirety of the HG team as Chris dashes himself away and gets himself to safety on that Dragon. But that is a very low team. Skyry getting a bit too eager there, diving in, taking quite a few tower shots, more tower shots than they'd like. They could go down here if they get too aggressive, but we do see the red tower being destroyed on the bot side there. Marta and Sim doing what they can. This is very tactical that we're seeing out from SG here. It is by the numbers pressure, take the objective, back off. Cosmo on his way out is going to manage to take away that Sage Golem as well, which at this point in the game is pretty huge because, you know, the cooldown, the mana, these are worrying situations that you try not to deal with, that you hope you don't have to deal with in team fights. But if you don't have the mana to save your teammates or to get that engage, that can be an absolute nightmare of a situation as they take the Spirit Sentinel and the dance around Darkslayer begins. You know, again now, this is what they're all about. This is what the objective is focused on now. So if this Darkslayer falls over to PeerLess, will it be enough to pull them back in the game?
They could possibly come back. There is definitely a chance. Darkslayer is going to be the key card in this one. If they can stop that, that would be a good thing. But what's happening is, even at the beginning of the game, the moment they ran a 4-man gank team, that alone is... Now, that actually has a huge dual-edged sword to it, because you can run 4-man, but of course, if the other team was able to pick up on that, which in this case, PeerLess was not, they could capitalize on it. But because they didn't, they now need to rely on objectives that they haven't been getting. And so if they can get them or stop them from that Darkslayer, I think they have a good chance of coming back through this.
Yeah, Skyry doing what they can and Champ doing what they can to be that front line, that tanky front line to defend against PeerLess onslaught. PeerLess taking a little bit of damage, but are on the defensive here. Skyry being the focus, which is exactly what Skyry will want as Champ and Skyry push in. Marta is on the back line doing a ton of damage, and that is going to allow for a great pickup there by Skyry on that Malok. They might not even need Darkslayer if they keep this up, but they are going a bit too deep. They go onto tower, and Zenial will pick up that kill onto Zephyrus. Huge engage now coming out. Counter engage Spectres coming up and dropping, and this is the clear I was talking about on that Praetor. You know, suddenly there is no wave available for SG to pressure with, but that might be enough still for them to turn tail and focus that objective and get that Slayer buff. They are going to need that Slayer buff if they are going to take down this PeerLess side, who are playing great and playing a great defensive game here. Down comes the Shock. Great work there from Skyry, but they are now outnumbered. Champ is on the backside, does use the ultimate, but it isn't going to be used to great effect, and Chris is the main focus of it, and Chris is looking fairly strong right now. Does still have that tankiness from his ultimate. Mata is on the back line, but is going to manage to pick up a Thunderbird kill. No! Plata with the shield doing great work there in defending. Is still going to go down to the Skyry on Malok on Skyry. Skyry on Malok even. Words. But yes, meanwhile, the return fire comes out as Sicario is back up and is looking for Skyry, and Pretty is there as well. Are they going to go back in? Can they see how low Sim is on that Irie? But if we look towards the top, we can see Cosmo is on that Slayer. Despite all of this, he's sneakily on that, while the rest of his team keep the whole of PeerLess at bay. And this is a great play coming out from SG as they now turn their backs. And look at the two people keeping 5 people at bay. It's the 2 tanks. It's Malok, it's Champ. Unfortunately, though, Malok didn't die before the buff was taken. He died just after, so he won't be back with that buff. If he'd have died just before that, he does spawn with the buff. However, he died just after he got it, unfortunately for him. But I don't think SG will mind one person dying for the sake of a Slayer buff, and once he's back up, they will be pressuring this. They might not even wait for a wave here. They are going to take that mid-high ground turret. Sorry, I've been going on, but this action has been constant. JVZ,
it is very constant.
What do we think right now?
the Malik, like we were gonna just bring up a little bit earlier there, the Malik keeping that pressure as much as doing, and Thane, as tanky as they were, set up that perfectly so they could get the Dark Slayer, and then team fight after team fight after team fight, and they keep rolling and rolling and rolling. They're keeping this aggression, they're not letting up, and that's causing issues because PeerLess is not able to match that. You already saw that even with the 3 that they had there, 4 people were going against them, and they could still hold their own, and it's happening here again, and here's another team fight already happening.
Yeah, PeerLess are looking strong though, and SG are taking a lot more damage than they wanted to as Champ slowly gets disintegrated by the PeerLess side. Despite SG taking that Slayer buff, are now on the back foot, but this could easily turn around again if they get a couple of good catches. We can see Irie and Malok on that top side now being descended upon by the Zenial, Praetor, and co. They are going to be backing off as best they can, but they are doing significant damage. Sicario getting very low again, and Cosmo is going to come in and clean that up. There's the Zephys. He's on a rampage now, guys. Chris is going to be the next focus. Big shield generated, but it isn't going to make a difference as he goes down as well, this time to the Irie. This could be the final stretch now for PeerLess if Cosmo can get those kills, but they still have a high ground turret here, and PeerLess are going to back off, are going to play defensive, and every kill that they can pick up that isn't answered is going to be a win for PeerLess. And you can see now though, the problem is those minion waves are starting to slowly trickle in, and once they get close enough to the base, that base becomes a lot more delicate, a lot more easy to kill. And here we see that Angelic Splendor coming in as well. Cosmo's staying alive for much longer than he intended to, but he is going to go down eventually as well. And now Skyrie is going to be the focus. These shields that Skyrie is generating are constant and they are big. And now we see that Marta is going to be the focus, but he's going to manage to dash himself out and keep himself safe. No kills given there, but another red tower does fall as Irie picks up that tower on the plus side. That's more super minions pushing down as all 3 of the high ground turrets have now been taken by SG, as PeerLess now left defenseless. They are going to need a miracle to turn this around, but luckily in AOV, miracles can sometimes come thick and fast.
As we talked about earlier, and it's happening as clear as day, Malik is shining extremely bright. And the fact that he was in base and the minions that keep spawning, the shield that was just coming out, he was keeping the constant pressure. Even as Cosmos left the scene, he's still there, just sitting in the middle of the fight, and he's going. And if they keep going for the Preda and going on the carries as they should be, this is definitely putting PeerLess back. PeerLess is already backed in a corner. This is the part where the rat needs to bite back, and they need it. They already know that SG's playing aggressive. They need to play into it, and they need to play to it right. And one of the other things I forgot to mention, but this has been happening earlier, is Malik and Zenio seem to be like target magnets. They're loved by people. They want to be killed by people. They're not necessary. You shouldn't be paying attention to them in the first place, but somehow they're so attractive that you need to hit them constantly. And that's exactly what's been happening in every game, and it's happening a lot in this one.
Yeah, and how now we see SG looking for that final push. The wave is coming in fully stacked, but this is going to be a lot of damage, and the good defensive play here from PeerLess. They're managing to focus down the wave with that Praetor as well. That is a good amount of wave clear. We can see that despite this, PeerLess pressure in the bot side here. Tulin is going to have to go answer it. And this is great play from Plata, because he can rejoin his team at any moment with that Angelic Splendor if he needs to. But this is the wonder of Zenial. He can push those waves, and it's forced Tulin out of position. Zephys has come to answer as well as the Angelic Splendor comes down, but he was, I believe, killed. Did he? No, he managed to get it through. So now, look at PeerLess' situation. They are now 5 versus 3 because the Zephys and the Tulin had to go answer the Zenial push. This is incredible play coming out from PeerLess, and this might be just what they need to keep themselves in the game here. However, Plaster now 1 versus 3. He is tanky, but is he that tanky? The answer is actually yes. Yes, he is. As he walks away, again, just clears the wave in front of them like nothing is happening. Wow. Great play there from PeerLess. Brave play there from PeerLess.
And now, going right into back to Zenio, so it's not as much as we give Malik attention. This is now also where Zenio shines. It's 19 minutes into the game. He's got most of his item, and by this chance, hopefully, his Leviathan's pretty set as well. But the mistake that I mentioned earlier, he was using those PeerLesses earlier to the Angelic Splendor, my bad, to go and save his teammates individually. He's correcting it now, because now that he's in the late game, he's waiting for those team fights, and now that he's coming back, he's pushing his lanes, and Zenio can do that. He has the potential. He is now changing the tide of battle, because SG is being aggressive. They're going into that, and they're not catching on that Zenio is also coming back for these as well. So See, this chance that you were talking about, it's definitely on the horizon.
Yeah, I mean, these high ground turrets went down at 15 minutes into the game, and we're now still at 20 minutes, and PeerLess is still looking defensive. They're still looking strong. They're still looking like they're synergized well, and they are all on the same page right now. And they still look, no one is typing GG early here. These guys are fighting to keep themselves in this game, and they're putting on a great performance. SG are really struggling to break through the shield right now that PeerLess are putting up. They are managing to clear these waves effectively. They're managing to keep themselves in the game. And remember, the longer they do this, the more they're going to bring themselves back into play with items and with with gold. But Darkslayer is the big factor, and we can see that it's going to go unchallenged here as the SG team pick up their second one of the game. Is it going to be this Darkslayer that allows them to get the pressure they've been looking for? Last time they used it to break towers. This time they're looking to break base as they start pushing in. We do see Champ going very deep, but he's going to be the tanky front. They're going to be PeerLess is going to be looking to clear these waves as quick as possible. They do not want the minions anywhere near these towers because the base becomes so much more vulnerable. Now they're going to fight underneath. Huge AoE damage coming out across the board. Angelic Splinter is going to come down, but it isn't going to make a difference because that is going to be SG finally picking up the kill and picking up the game versus PeerLess. Great work from both teams, but GG, well played, SG taking a win.
And that was a fantastic PeerLess defense. Like, everything was down, and by this point in time, most people would give up. They didn't. They kept held to it. The problem with that, though, is because you play too defensive, you let things like Darkslayer, especially, no one's there to check it. It's uncontested, and they're afraid to leave their base. That's usually what causes a lot of the pressure to just die down. And of course, we've seen the power of Darkslayer. So once you get that and all the turrets are down, you're looking for a mess. But overall, it was a fantastic game.
Yeah, really enjoyable to watch, really enjoyable to see. The defensive side of things is normally where a lot of teams falter. It's normally where they go wrong. A lot of teams know how to win a game. They don't know how to win a game when they're losing it. And PeerLess did a great job of nearly pulling themselves back into that by the end of it. But SG, at the end of the day, they had a great strategy. They worked great as a team, and we talked earlier about the Irie. Early, it didn't seem like much was happening with her. She was just kind of farming away, calmly, quietly. Look at that score by the end game, though. Those 7 kills falling onto Sim. That just goes to show that if you ignore that Irie long enough, they will eventually come back to bite you. So great work there from SG, and great work from PeerLess as well. But at the end of the day, the victory going over to SG. That was an amazing game.